What's up, everybody? Yeah, wrapping up this week's, or at least this month's, animated film reviews. And I've been waiting to talk about this one for a good minute. Disney's Robin Hood. The Robin Hood Fox. The legendary Robin Hood Fox. Before I continue, please do me a huge favor and like this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of the Disney version of Robin Hood, the animated one. There's been multiple iterations of this. I wouldn't even say it's like fictional, but it's like kind of like Johnny Appleseed. It's one of those kind of folktale heroes. Follow me in the links in the description below, like my Twitch and YouTube channel where I stream video games, do reviews and reaction videos. Yeah, and man, this film is really like a lot of young ladies' sexual awakenings, especially those who are in the furry community. View this as their like awakening. As I mentioned, like we always have those. Not necessarily have to be like animated characters per se, but I think we all have that one. But my little sexual awakening would have been Michelle's Pfeiffer Catwoman. But in terms of like animated ones, the off the top of my head would have been Lola Bunny from Space Jam. And of course, like the easy go-to would be Jessica Rabbit. But that seems kind of, easy. And I know there's been like a couple of more in terms of like, like Shelf and from like Road to El Dorado, or forgot the princess name from Atlantis: The Lost Empire. She will be another one. Just animated characters that are very attractive, and there's a good portion of them that are anthropomorphic, that still like guess at people. The Robin Hood Fox was a lot of girls' sexual awakening. I don't get it. To this day I still don't get it. I don't know. It wasn't like he's like jacked or talking like a deep tone, rugged voice or anything like that, or has like a strong jawline, which is like typically the indicators for attraction for women. He doesn't have that aesthetic, so I'm not. I don't know. I probably should have looked it up and see what was the appeal to this character for girls, because like I just don't get it. But in any case, revisiting this film after so long, because I only saw it maybe a couple times when I was a young kid, revisiting it now, beyond the Fox, I see like a lot of innuendos that I don't know if the animators and writers really intended to future generations to misinterpret of what we're seeing. Or maybe they did and they just having a good laugh. Like the whole rumor in The Lion King is Simba plops down on the ground and the dust billows up and it seemingly spells the word sex. Was kind of like that subtle stuff that they put into these animated things to get kids turned on, or just put in a little like it kind of pushes the line in terms of animated films meant for children. Heck, you look at Mrs. Incredible. You cannot. I mean, you know they did it on purpose with like the sequel, but like the original Incredibles movie, I'm not sure how purposeful they design Mrs. Incredible to be like super thick to get young kids like attracted to this character because she has like a thick butt. It's like crazy thick. It is like, especially got young boys growing up to be like infatuated with older women because of Mrs. Incredible. Because she's definitely like that the and it like the ideal MILF. Uh, anyway, this film was directed by Wolfgang Reitherman. It stars Brian Bedford as Robin Hood, Monica Evans as Maid Marian, Phil Harris as Little John, who looks like Baloo and is even voice acted by the same guy who did Baloo. Roger Miller as Alan Adale, Andy Devine as Friar Tuck, Peter Ustinov as Prince John, who also voices King Richard, Terry Thomas as Sir Hiss, Carol Shelley as Lady Cluck, Pat Buttram as Sheriff of Nottingham, George Lindsay and Ken Curtis as Tiger and Nutsy. So yeah, I gotta say the voice acting in this is very good, especially Brian Bedford, who his character is often seen in disguises, which allows him to flex his acting muscles because he really plays like the old beggar pretty well, the stork with that Cockney, I'm pretty sure it's Cockney accent, I'm not sure, and the gypsy old lady. It's just like it flows and you buy it. I mean, it's like honestly incredible. Excuse me. So, uh, of course, you know this, typical story of Robin Hood and Little John, and you usually have like merry men, but it's only the one guy. But it still works. It's fine. They, of course, rob from the rich to give to the poor. That's the typical shtick of Robin Hood. So they, dis- you know, they end up disguising themselves as uh, fortune tellers, fortune teller ladies, and of course, I was about to call him Baloo, and of course, Lil John got dressed as like a super thick woman with like giant cans. He's just like barely trying to contain as he's trying to walk, and it's like I was like, wow, they got away with a lot of stuff back in the 70s. Uh, Heck, even in the 80s, in the 90s, they got away with a lot of stuff. I would recommend Rocco's Modern Life. I just want to say, I recommend you guys check out Rocco's Modern Life. If you're talking about pushing that envelope, or even Ren and Snippy. So, despite the protests with Sir Hiss, who kind of caught on, this seems kind of weird. Prince John, who lacks his ego stroked, but he also sucks his thumb, kind of like he's just like a giant baby, very infantile kind. He kind of you look at him, you can't help but think about what's that kid we hate in Game of Thrones that got poisoned. Spoiler alert for Game of Thrones. He that little psycho kid, he kind of reminds Prince. Yeah, crap, I just forgot his doggone name. Prince John ended up getting it give me those same vibes from that character. It's just like a spoiled little psycho. But of course, he stupidly gets robbed, so this puts him in a freaking mood. So now he decides, okay, I need to set a trap, find Robin Hood, so I can capture him and kill him. So he orchestrates a archery event, and the winner gets to win a kiss from Maid Marian. Uh, who, by the way, we see when, well, after the sheriff of Nottingham is starting like taxing everybody out the yin yang, even taking away one little shilling from this kid who's given was given to him for his birthday, and he comes in there and just yoinks that thing from the kid. Uh, Robin Hood, dressed as like a blind beggar, comes in and surprises the kid with his own bow and giving him his own hat as a birthday present. And of course, the kid looks up to Robin Hood as his hero, who he idolized the crap out of him. And that's what you like. A lot of young boys want. We want to see guys like this that we can look up to and emulate. You know, guys being heroes and allowed to be, you know, strong and dashing and everything like that, saving the damsel. Young boys need to see that stuff, and not viewing it as like a bad thing. That, you know, they want to do what guys want to do. It's natural for us to want to emulate a heroic figure to save the hot damsel and defeat the bad guys or the monsters. This boy fantasy. Um. But he playing with his bow and he shot his arrow too high, which lands in the courtyard where Maid Marian and Lady Cluck is having a discussion, because she still muses on her time with Robin Hood when they was young kids. So they end up playing with the young children, the peasant children. And then word gets out, because it's Friar Tuck who brings the news to Lil Jon and Robin Hood about the games that Prince John is hosting. Excited about getting to see Maid Marian and hoping to get a kiss from the girl. Not too long before that, Lil Jon is telling him, like, why don't you just ask the girl to marry you? Oh, a guy just can't just walk up to a girl with flowers and say, hey, will you marry me? And it's like, within this freaking next scene, you'll see that happen. It's kind of like, you know, I guess it was more of a throes of passion, of like an adventurous moment. It's kind of like no different from the two characters from Pirates of the Caribbean that got married by Barbossa on the boat as they're fighting off evil pirates. So it's just like it's spur of the moment, passionate kind of thing, which I guess would be exciting. So, disguised as a stork, and of course, kicking a lot of people's asses in archery, which is a fun activity I highly recommend you guys try out, because I done so and it's really, really good. Lil Jon disguised as some kind of duke or whomever visiting from a neighboring kingdom, convinces like Prince John to, you know, pile around with him and watch the game. Of course, his catches on. This is Robin Hood in disguise, but he gets caught by Friar Tuck and the townspeople and put inside a barrel full of rum. But But of course, Prince John eventually kind of catches on his own, and of course, Robin Hood beats everybody in the archery game. He gets found out, captured, and despite Maid Marian's pleas, he wasn't hearing it. He's ready to like execute this guy. Don't know why he just didn't tell him to do it right then and there, and instead of like waiting for this, this kind of like making a whole theatrical thing out of it, like the whole town gotta witness it kind of thing, instead of just dealing with it right then and there. But thanks to Little John, put a knife in this guy's back and say like, tell him to release him. So he gives the order. He is released, but the sheriff of Nottingham fights off Little John. So everybody's in like this epic fight. The guards are fighting Robin Hood and Little John and a couple other townsfolk. Even Lady Clark tried getting in the mix for some reason and doing some football moves. Like, don't know why or what purpose. I mean, I guess I know the purpose, but it's like, I don't know why this whole football scenario gotta be a thing. And she's not really taking these guys out, really. She's just outmaneuvering them. But they managed to make their escape with Maid Marian. And, you know, later in the evening, Robin Hood and Maid Marian have a nice little moment together. Of course, during that whole thing, they, you know, he asked her to marry him. That all went down. And then they have this huge party in the forest. Of course, the Prince John isn't having none of this. He's made look like a fool. So he decides to start overtaxing everybody, tripling the tax to the point where people who could not pay anymore are forced to be put in a cell. Heck, he even, you know, imprison the children. It's like, this dude is just like petty as hell. And despite people in the film praising, because, you know, Prince John is the younger brother to like King Richard, who is like the actual ruler. But thanks to his, who hypnotizes Richard into going off on the Crusades, which allowed Prince John to step in as kind of like a substitute ruler until the king comes back. Now, if you look this up, King Richard, the real one, during his period, actually, you know, taxed a lot of people during that period for one of the crusades that was going on during his time. And it's like, you're praising a guy who, I know this ain't supposed to be like historically accurate, it's like fictional history, but with, it's just, it's like, I know y'all probably, somebody had to do their research, but I guess it's a kid's film, so it's not like you needed to make it too, you know, you can play fast and loose with certain historical stuff, but if you look it up, you find it kind of ironic that they cursing out a guy who's overtaxing them. Meanwhile, the, you know, actual historical period, King Richard probably did probably the same amount, if not more, taxing of his people in order to fund his crusade. It was kind of like ironic. Anyway, they even locked up the narrator, which is kind of funny. Yeah, I'm here too. It's like, it's just like saying so matter of fact, like, yep, I'm here too. So fluently, it's like, yeah, it's part of the story too. I gotta be in there, kind of thing. They even, you know, lock up Friar Tuck, who after just losing it because everybody in the town darn near is, you know, getting overtaxed or getting locked up for unable not being able to pay any more of the tax, uh, uh, which causes the church to be completely empty, and they just kind of ringing the bell, the church bell, just to give some people some hope. Which, by the way, I gotta say, because Disney rarely nowadays will, like, you know, implement any type of religious iconography. You got actually a church with the word God scribbled on the side, completely unashamed of it all because this is a Christian country primarily. Uh, it isn't like ashamed, like, yeah, you know, they mentioned like this is the house of God and everything like that. Wouldn't really fly today the same way. They would try to avoid using the word and just kind of infer this is a church. Matter of fact, I couldn't help but think about, like, in the OG X-Men animated series, where it actually has an episode dedicated to religion with Nightcrawler's introduction, with the end, with the most monumental ending of an episode in the X-Men animated series, where you hear, because I think I reviewed that, or I know I at least talked about it and read it off on one of my older videos. I can't remember. No, I know I did it because I know I was reviewing each season of the X-Men animated series, the OG, and I commented and read out the Bible verse that Wolverine was reading in the church. It was a powerful scene that they would not do in, like, X-Men 97, because they want to be super inclusive and not, like, because certain things in Christian doctrine wouldn't really fly too well in certain communities that would frown upon their lifestyle. But it's just like it's just like very powerful, and it's just like it gives like some level of clarity for Wolverine at that time, where he, you know, is you know, I wouldn't say he's like atheist, but he doesn't at that beginning of that well, not even just the beginning of the film, but he just like he has like he doesn't really get involved in religious, or at least he respects it, but he just doesn't like care all that much, because why, as he puts it, why would a god allow someone to do this to me? He pops his claws. Like, what kind of god would allow someone like us to exist and people do this to me? And Nightcrawler is, you know, very pious. It's like, you know, it's not us to question God's methods. I can't do a good, you know, German accent, but I just like the this character who looks like a demon, who's like super religious, and that's what I want my Nightcrawler to be. I like my Nightcrawler to be like, you know, a religious priest. It doesn't need to be like a Bible thumper per se, and like shooing away everybody who has like different belief systems or lifestyles, but he's there as like good spiritual counsel. And I just love that episode, and it's still part of Disney, and it's like at the time they just allowed these kind of things because, you know, the writers weren't ashamed of their religion, despite who in the writers' room who might believe in other lifestyles or whatever like that. They won't fly today. And I doubt in the sequel to X-Men 97 they will delve into that kind of thing anymore. That ain't gonna fly anymore. So going back to Robin Hood, it was like, it's just cool to see that they were just unashamed of Christian worshippers. It's like, yeah, we're putting God, at the very least, we're putting the word God here. It doesn't necessarily need to have like a full blown crucifix with the Jesus on the front, but they ain't ashamed to like putting like God and everything like that and talk about the church. At least a little bit. It ain't like full blown Bible thumping, but it's just like yeah, they would have like the church would be very important, especially in this time period. Um, they really like at least stuck with that. Um, so anyway, sheriff comes in, takes their last little coin out of the poor box with no shame, and like this guy, you talking about like a good villain. He doesn't need to be like he doesn't need to do all that. He just loves what he does. And it's like, yeah, I'm coming here taxing you, like let me get like that thing. And of course he excuses a lot of stuff because he's like the man of the cloth, and he mentions like the man of the cloth, everything like that. And Friar Tuck is a respectable member of society. They look to Friar Tuck as somebody they hold like almost like second to maybe Robin Hood in terms of a respectable person in like the in the village or the kingdom, where it's like we go to back for Friar Tuck because he's always been there for us, kind of thing, spiritually and otherwise. So the fact that he just kind of lost it after like you have no shame. You come into God's house and take money from the poor box. You have no freaking respect. So he loses it and starts fighting off the sheriff. But this ends up getting him arrested. And once word gets out to to the Prince John, he's like, "Oh, I can use him as bait to lure out Robin Hood because him and there's like a friendship between him and Friar Tuck." Even his kind of is taken aback a little bit because even he kind of sees Friar Tuck as like a respectable member of this kingdom and a member of the cloth, and it's kind of like this seems a little far because he is like saying like he will hang Friar Tuck out of all people to hang. It's like, dude, whoa, this is Friar Tuck, man. This is kind of like crazy. He still goes along with it, but you gotta take it back a bit. Like, Jesus, this because he is super petty. He is gung ho. He's not even happy with all the money he taxed from the citizens of the kingdom. He couldn't enjoy it because he was made a fool multiple times by this folk hero. So it's like, no, I gotta get him, and I gotta make sure he's neutralized on the spot. So I'm gonna lure him out in order to get him. So once Robin Hood gets word about he sneaks in as the blind beggar, and he overhears about the whole morning hanging of Friar Tuck. He was like, "Oh, can't have that." So him and Little John orchestrates a breakout where, disguised as one of the vulture guards, he takes off the sheriff's belt, which is, like I said, innuendos here. He takes off the belt in order to lift the key ring off of him. Him and Lil John not only breaks out the prisoners, but at the same time cannot pass up the opportunity to steal all the money from Prince John. So they managed to accomplish both feats, but the one of the rabbit kids, the baby of the group, is lagging behind. The mama rabbit sucks as a parent because, like, why aren't you not counting all your kids to make sure they're all on the wagon to escape? You would think that'd be the first person you want to make sure that's on the freaking cart, because this kid can't run that far. Robin Hood saves them, so he tried to figure out a way to his own way to get out, which he ends up running from the sheriff and causes massive fire on one of the castle that he climbs on top of and hops over into the lake and makes it to the other side when you think he might have bit the dust, but he didn't. So, uh, and by the way, Maid Marian is nowhere to be seen up until this last moment, where, and this one is kind of like not necessarily an issue, but something I can't help but point out because it kind of wraps up pretty fast. Like it misses like an extra step to make this feel earned. Where King Richard shows up, fixes everything according to the narrator, Rooster. It's like he fixes everything. He puts the sheriff, former Prince John, and Hiss into prison. You know, smashing rocks and everything like that. And then Robin and Maid Marian get married, and this little kid talk about like, oh well, Robin's gonna have children, and so they're gonna need somebody to help out. What kind of, it's like, kid, why are you concerned? And you just hopping along when you're a little kid. You should be, staying with your mother. It's so stupid. This kid is like, I don't know, he's a lot. So the movie ends with them two getting hitched and living a happily ever after. And that was Disney's Robin Hood. It's a fun film, great for a great family film. But there are certain things that they did, like kind of like just to get to a certain part, they did kind of like slightly rush it. I don't want to say they full blown rush it, but the animation is like still spectacular. It still holds up. Especially kind of looks like a story book comes to life kind of thing. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Have you seen this recently? If there's any young ladies out there, did you grow up, fancying the Robin Hood Fox? Because I imagine a lot of you did, especially the millennial girls. They, like, many of them from, like, I remember, I think we talked, I talked about this in high school. I could be misremembering, but, I've heard from girls around my age that they grew up really, like, liking that Robin Hood Fox and getting turned on by him for some weird reason. But anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit. I got another movie I want to review with you guys. So I'll see you all soon. Take care.